Welcome back to Briggs on Books, our truly international talk show where we talk to authors from all over the world. Our next guest coming up is Scottish. She's also, well, she's in London. I don't know which she is, British or Scottish. We'll find out. But she believes in this, equal rights for everyone, people, animals, and robots. Welcome, Moira Devlin. Robots, what? No. By the way, before we go too far, here's the book cover. The book is 2035 and Beyond, a guide to thriving in the future workplace. Tell us about it, Moira.
Hi. Thank you for having me, first of all. Nice to be here today. So yes, I do have a passion for learning about the future and anticipating what that means, and that's why to me robots are up at the top. They're equal with humans and animals. So this book takes the reader on an exploratory journey into the future where they have a role, they're a thought catalyst, and chapter 1 will help them understand what that role means, and by the end of chapter 1 they're ready to go off on their galactic adventure to go through 8 imaginary planets.
8 planets, okay. Now, by the way, you are kind of a futurist. You love to think about the future and write about the future. What do you think the next big thing is that's going to hit us work-wise?
Work-wise, well, there's a really interesting statistic. By 2030, 65% of the jobs that will exist in 2030 have not been invented yet. That's the change, and if you think children going through school now will have jobs that we haven't thought of, people that are midway through their career will have to make the change and adapt to what those new jobs are. Their working environments will change considerably around working with AI and robotics. So tipping points at 2030.
I thought about this a lot. When I went to college, I'm a little older, there were no computers. We didn't have computers in college. When I was in high school, I took typing classes. I did it mostly because it was full of girls, but typing was the greatest skill I ever got because, everything I do, you're typing now. What's a skill today that people should concentrate on that they might not think of for the future?
So you've got to think about your soft skills. What are you good at around critical thinking, creativity, communication, teamwork? It's all these soft skills because those are the ones that will help us manage the change, and because change is dramatic, and as human beings we don't like change. And it will also mean that those are the skills that robots won't have and AI don't have. It's all those soft skills that you're going to train a robot to do repetitive tasks and different things that are easier, but how do you get them to do creative thinking, critical thinking? So it's those types of skills we need to hone in and get better at and make them more important to us.
Do you think keyboarding and typing will still be a thing?
Yes, and it's funny you mentioned that because I did exactly the same as you. I learned to type.
Yeah.
I learned to type through the frustration because I like to do things quickly with computers.
Quickly, yes.
So I learned it for that reason. That made life a lot easier for me because, as you say, everything's on a computer. But at the end of the day, that will become more three-dimensional. So you'll still need the skill, but you'll do it in a virtual world. So it'll be all virtual how we will do it.
Yeah.
You won't have hardware. Hardware will disappear and it will be virtual. But you still need skills, flexible skills to move around.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, also a futurist of sorts, says in 10 years, they asked him in 10 years, what will we be surprised by? He goes, well, we won't be driving our own cars anymore. It'll all be these self-driving cars. Can you think of anything we have now that is going to just disappear?
I don't think there'll be, I think it's things where it's hardware. So in homes, you won't have TV screens. It's a lot of things that are hardware.
Things like the hardware,
disappear. That will be the thing, I think that will be the dramatic thing that we'll see that's different. And we'll have a lot of wearables that we'll use as well in our clothing. So our clothing will change. And there'll be things embedded into the clothing around sensors and technology that will help us with our clothing as well. Sensors will be a big part of the technology development as we go, because sensors are in robots, they'll be in street lighting, they'll be in all the futuristic cities that we'll live in. So that will change as well. And 3D printing is the other big technology. It's something that we don't really talk about much because it doesn't sound sexy. But 3D printing will be doing everything from preparing your cocktail at the bar, all the way through from making your jewellery, your clothes, accessories, You can design something online, go into the virtual room, try it on, and then it'll be printed out for you at the local 3D printing store
Nice.
where you'll go and collect your clothes or your accessories or whatever it may be.
So maybe instead of ordering on Amazon and waiting for it to be delivered, we'll order on Amazon and it'll just print it out for us.
Yes, and it'll be bespoke and tailored to what your requirements are.
Nice.
So there'll be a lot more of it. So things won't always disappear, other than things like hardware. They'll transform into another version of what we had before. We'll still wear clothes, we'll still go out to eat, but 3D printing for food will be interesting as well, because you'll have 3D printers at home that you can prepare things to eat. You can go out to restaurants, that's how they'll prepare the food. They'll prepare drinks, it'll be the cocktail at the bar. There'll be the 3D printer at the bar is preparing all the drinks. And a lot of that technology is being used at the moment. It does exist.
Maybe no
So
bartender then. No bartender. We just step up, press a button, and it prints our drink.
Yeah, but then we'll have different roles, so we've got to be sensitive in the sense that there will be more jobs for people. The research tells us that there'll just be different jobs.
Different
and
jobs,
the bit
yeah.
that we've got to get right is helping people through the change, which we're not very good at. So it's some jobs will be redundant, but it doesn't mean the person's redundant. There's other jobs to be trained up on and to move across to.
Interesting about the hardware. We used to have a lot more hardware. Video player, DVD player, all these things have already disappeared from our lives. And our TV studio, even back in 2008, we had all these giant equipment and cameras and stuff, but now everything's like contained in the phone size. Yeah, so I see that.
And that chip technology has evolved so fantastically to make life so much easier for us. Well, you look at a watch, a phone, is your watch and what that's got,
Right.
and how it's got sensor technology can detect how well you are, give you medical feedback on how you are, and all of that will grow, and all these wearables will grow. As I'm saying, in your clothing, you'll have sports people who have clothing that will be able to tell them when their peak performance is and what they need to do to improve that. So
amazing. Now your
It's
book is
amazing stuff.
your book is not like a boring textbook. It's a story. There's a story in there. Is that right?
Yes, so the story is that you is the key protagonist. You're actually playing a role. So you are the thought catalyst working in the Paradigm Neurohub. And in chapter 1, you set the scene around what your role is, and it incorporates lots of elements about technology and understanding what that is in a futuristic world, in the not too distant future. And so you learn about the technology and how you would use it in your role. And that's the role you have throughout when you visit the imaginary planets as well. You're going on a journey, but you're learning at the same time around elements around soft skills, the importance of self-assessment, self-reflection, self-awareness, understanding change, lifelong learning. So it encapsulates all those themes. And there's tasks to complete at the end of each chapter and assessments. And there's a free workbook that you can download from my website at littlefishbigimpact.com. And that helps you complete the task. So there's stuff to do. So it's a working experience. You're learning stuff and doing stuff, but hopefully in a fun and entertaining way, because you're imagining travelling, which we love to do in outer space to planets in another galaxy.
And I just switched to the workbook on the screen. Should we be doing the workbook as we read the book, or should we read the book and then go back and do the workbook?
I think it's better to do it together. I always think you want
as
to
you're reading it,
at the end of the chapter. So when you're learning the activities, you're completing the tasks as the thought catalyst. So the practical tasks based on your imaginary role. And the workbook it's just got lots of useful stuff in it to help you, templates, different ways to and models that can help you complete the tasks.
Now, you said change is inevitable, and you also pointed out that there's a lot of resistance to change. That's a big thing. People resist change and they don't want it. But you think this book will help us get ready for all that?
Yes, that's what it's trying to say. But it's expressing the real problems that we're facing in the world, which is the fourth industrial revolution. It's here and it's massive. Climate change is another one.
Yeah.
It's here and it's massive. And these things are what's going to make the huge changes to how we live, migration, where we live, how we migrate to bigger cities. What does that mean? What our work environment is it hybrid? Is it remote? So many different possibilities. And then you add on all the things like 3D printing, robots, AI. There is huge potential out there for everything. And human beings, we don't like change. Even if it's in our interest, we don't like change. You know, who wouldn't want a self-driving car? It's a great invention because it makes life easier. But what we'll do, we'll hesitate and resist it for as long as possible to say, hey, because we just go into fight or flight mode, don't we say, oh, that's dangerous. Just keep everything the same.
Interesting. You're very interesting. I want to talk to you for hours. Maybe I'll fly over there to visit my son and look. I'll meet you in a cafe somewhere.
You're welcome to London anytime.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, I have to stop the signaling. Mike, stop, you're going too long. But we do have your web address on the screen and your Instagram address on the screen. So I urge our viewers to go there and check those out. Where can we get this book, Moira?
So it's on Amazon. It's all the books in all the usual places: Amazon, Apple, Kobo, Google Play. So you go to, obviously everyone has different needs. Some prefer Apple, some will prefer Google or Amazon. So it's available on all.
Now, is it a Kindle or a hardcover?
Yes, it's on Kindle as well, yes.
That's right, Kindle as well. I've never read a Kindle book.
I've made it very flexible so everyone's got different choices because it's quite personal, isn't it, how you like to read your books?
Yes, it is. It is. I like to listen to mine. Is it going to be an audiobook soon?
I'm looking at audiobooks that you speak. So I've written another 2 books. I'm in the process of doing a new one as well, another one. Okay. So this will be quite exciting and it'd be good to come and talk to you about that in a few months' time.
Yeah, please.
So
I want you to come back. You have to come back.
Communication in colour, yes, and about communication skills as well. Nice. So it won't be ready till probably close to the summertime. But that's going quite well at the moment. Quite a lot of the design work's done because, you know, I like to do the imagery. I always design imagery with the words and the words with the imagery together.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And that's my way of thinking, to offer something quite, you know, holistic to the reader. I think it makes, for me, I think the type of subject that I'm doing, it makes it more exciting if you can bring imagery and make that quite futuristic with the words. Otherwise, I think it just doesn't give enough.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a fun book, but it also sounds like a very important book, Moira. We're out of time. Any last thoughts for our viewers? By the book.
Always, don't be afraid of change.
Great, don't be afraid of change. All right, I will see you in London, Moira, for our viewers. Stick around. We're going to have more authors right after this. We'll be back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Moira.